Hello everyone. I want to just make a few comments. I'm sorry for the lack of videos with the support of news and statements written, because I hardly have time to sit on my little improvised studio. So first of all, I want to say this, yes, because as a person with a normal working life, family, and things like that I like to do, it is very hard. That's why I've opted a lot to make videos such as this on the way to work, right? And so yeah, I'm really, I want to apologize for that. Pretty much understand if you criticize me for that, because I perfectly understand. If I were you, I would do the same. But I can't help but share my thoughts on the inputs I keep having, because every 5-minute break or 10-minute break, or while taking breakfast, I try to get updated, to be updated on, for example, on geopolitics. Also, local and national and local politics are very important for me. And today I want to talk a little bit about the ongoing situation in Ukraine, in the front lines. You know that I've made some videos now. I think the first one where I spoke about this was almost a year ago, I guess. It was last summer, if I recall well. Where I was kind of debunking, not debunking, because I was just giving my opinion, which was going in a different direction than many, let's call them this way, pro-Russian, or at least not anti-Russian channels, right? Some are pro-Russian, some are just not anti-Russian. They are more balanced. But still you can see that favor the Russian narrative. As I do, by the way, okay? And it's not because I like that flag the most. It's because I can see a lot of the lies that are spewed in the countries that claim to be the you know, the pinnacle. How do you say this word? The, you know, the best of the best in the democracy and freedom of speech and all that, and transparency and that. And so yeah, but I was going, everyone was, it's been like over a year now, I think, since the beginning. Some of these channels start to say that, oh, Ukraine is about to collapse, it's done for them, it's no point, and it keeps going, like, but it never happens, right? Russians are about to win, but they something happens. The thing is that I'm not saying that they were actually not winning or losing. I think in the early stages of the war it was a bit blurry. Obviously the Russians had great victories. They showed great performance. I mean, remember, they conquered like 20%, over 20% of the territory in just like that. And so you cannot deny the military successes. But from there to the collapse of Ukraine was, as you know, since the West committed itself to help Ukraine the way it did, it would be very hard to do. And so I've been saying that this narrative hasn't been correct. And the latest one was like it's been like circulating for over a year now. People trying to justify claims such as the end of support for Ukraine, the failure of the project Ukraine, and because of this supposedly 60 billions blocked by US Congress. And then the Israel affair came, and with the 7th of October, and people start saying, oh, now US is favoring Israel over Ukraine, is favoring Taiwan over Ukraine. You know, this kind of narratives, and now Ukraine is going to fall now with lack of support. Of course, in the meantime, Ukraine organized major offensives. The Ukraine that was almost collapsing. Look, I'm doing this criticism of these outlets because if you analyze things cold-headed, if you ask who am I favorable to, I admit I am I think the Russians are on the right side, and I think this is all motivated by Western meddling, NATO and the US since the fall of the Soviet Union, which for me it's what caused all these troubles and destabilized countries and caused a lot of pain and death. So I am from this side, but I have to make this criticism because you have to. How else can you learn if you don't criticize your own self and the people you identify with? How else do you learn, right? How else do you improve? And now, finally, almost 3 years after, or 3 years, the third year of the war has begun, and Ukraine lines are faltering, right? You see that the Russians are having more and more the initiative, and the Ukrainians have stopped hiding their kind of panic or concern about this situation. It's becoming more and more vocal, even from the outlets, the Western outlets, right? That Ukraine cannot go on, and no. Of course, this is always a nice narrative to have in the Western outlets as well, because if we cannot let Ukraine lose, support must not stop, because this justifies all the support. And if I can synthesize my argument, is that despite all this exterior signs, rhetoric signs only, of that seems that the West is dwindling, the West support is dwindling, the matter of fact is that it is not. Because if it had been dwindling like it's claimed, Ukraine would have collapsed already. That's how it is. So I still maintain, and Ukraine now is really in trouble. I mean, but they just remember, even with all the support, the Ukrainian fighters are very competent. They are like the Russians, actually. It's the same. They've been, brothers, yeah. But they are very brave, right? But they're exhausted. They had too many casualties. They wasted a lot of manpower doing stupid operations because NATO tell them to do. Because they are under the supervision of the West. They are a tool of the West. And then you have the corruption problem. A lot of the means that are sent to Ukraine, they get let's say that their route gets changed to other hands. And the accumulation of all that with time, with the West having no industry comparable to Russia, war industry, with the West having no experience since the Second World War, maybe a little bit in the Korean War, but still, since those wars, having no experience in a wide, broad frontline war like this one, 1,000-kilometer front line, I really believe in the theory that they really miscalculated their capabilities and the capabilities of the Russians. But remember, the Russians have always been a continental army. They never been other thing. Of course, they developed their navy as well and their submarines and all that in Soviet times. But they have been mostly that huge continental army, which they still are, and they are, and they have vocation for, right? So it is expected for them not to lose such war easily, especially when the Russians are actually the best performance has been while they are on the defensive, which, when you analyze it how it is, I mean, when you analyze the situation, the Russians are on the defense. How can you say that? They were the ones that invaded, blah blah blah. Of course, if you don't know history, if you don't know anything before, I'm very sorry. It would take some time to explain to you why the Russians are the ones that are on the defensive. And they because most of the Russians are literate people, they understand this and they volunteer in big numbers to this. They also have their problems and corruption problems and the like, but not comparable. Don't try to compare it to Ukraine. Go to see Russia. That's my advice. Go to see. Travel there, talk to the people, visit businesses. I mean, go around. They'll be happy to show it to you. They'll be happy to receive you. Do that. And so, yeah. Ukrainian lines are faltering, but not, I maintain my opinion, not because by lack of support. If you go and dig deep in the Telegram channels or this less noticeable outlets, or even big outlets, but I don't know, they don't make it the 2 o'clock news or something, or the 9 o'clock news, or you see small articles and you see information that indicates that England keeps sending help as before, Germany more and more, other European countries. The US is on the ground orchestrating, giving help that without that one, the help of the US, which it's still giving, right? They would have collapsed already. Even with all the money. Money doesn't fight. It's the same old argument that try to go to the desert on your own, on foot, with just a full case, let's say €1 million. And good luck, right? So you can print all the money, because money, just printing machine working, and you can have all the money you want. But if the industry is not there, if the know-how is not there, is the know-how, I mean the qualified workers, manpower is not there in huge scale. And remember that in the West, a lot of these industries, they have been sacking workers and downsizing and shrinking. They have been shrinking. And other industrial know-how that could be maybe useful has also been shrinking due to capitalism, financial capitalism. You make a company and the ultimate goal of the company is to provide the shareholders with profit. Fuck the rest. And that's it. That's how you screw an economy. You forget about the real economy and you're just feeding the bloodsuckers. You end up having a society of servants. They can have a lot of degrees, but that it doesn't mean they are qualified or ready for, right? Because even the school has been corrupted not to train people properly to be competent in many tasks and chores, and the wages have been, the purchasing power has been going down, 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 so a lot of needed jobs are less appealing, and yeah, you kill an industry like that with that kind of policy. You see this in almost every branch of the real economy. So yeah, good luck with the fortunes of the financial oligarchs. Good luck with the fortunes of the printing machines. If you don't have the physical, the real, the tangible means, you cannot sustain such a war. Ukraine, despite the help, it's losing because the Russians are the ones who are growing. The Russians are the ones who are growing, who are bigger and better, and have learned a lot of lessons. See you on the next one.